Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session, the high-level convening on nature-based solutions in cities. To build resilient cities, it is quite critical that we include nature-based solutions in the different phases and scales of urban planning. The benefits have been expounded, and I will not get into the details of that. With me today, I have a very exciting discussion coming up with very high-level officials from 4 different cities, 4 different continents, and 4 different countries. And we'll be talking about the experiences of these different city governments in synergizing blue-green infrastructure in the existing gray infrastructure in the city, the kind of citywide strategies that can be adopted to mainstream nature-based solutions, and what are the existing opportunities and barriers that can be overcome to implement and scale nature-based solutions in various cities. This is meant to be a session where we will co-learn from each other, we will discuss with each other. It's a peer learning, a peer exchange session. With me today, I have the fortune of introducing the 4 panelists. First, we have with us Ambassador Fernando Melo Barreto, the Adjunct Secretary of International Relations of Sao Paulo. I have also Mr. Osei Asibe Antwi, the Mayor of Kumasi. I will also have with me Anil Kumar, Mr. Mayor of Kochi Municipal Corporation, and Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, Additional Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai. Before we get into the discussions, I will just switch over to a short presentation that I will make about the existing situation in India and also the requirement for nature-based solutions and scaling these in various contexts. I'd like to share my presentation now. Is this visible? If someone can just tell me. I'm going to try on full screen. If it doesn't work, I will go back to. Okay. Please let me know when this is visible. Fantastic. So I'll just walk you through sort of the situation in Indian cities, what we are doing, and also the C4F platform that all of our cities are part of that are in this discussion. So to start with, I want to talk about the urbanization, what led us to where we are today. And this is sort of a snapshot of various major Indian cities where the growth is happening. Clearly, it is outside of the boundaries of the municipal corporations and administrative boundaries which control infrastructure in the city. And so a lot of the growth is dispersed and happening in areas which are very environmentally sensitive. This is the quantum of urban sprawl which is going to be happening in Indian cities, which is already happening actually. This is the amount of square kilometers, 29.2 of new built up, which is being added every year. And where are we building? We are basically building wherever we find space, wherever we find land, wherever the land is cheap. And so therefore we are encroaching quite a bit on a natural infrastructure. This is the city of Bangalore in the map, and about 85% of the natural infrastructure here is encroached upon by development, and therefore you have the kind of image that you see on your left, which is flooding. Chennai also, this is a situation. These are 4 major lakes which have gotten 4 major reservoirs which are drying up and which is causing water stress in the city. And of course, this is the story of every city in India, most cities in India, where water shortages are expected. There is economic loss due to flooding. There's loss of life and livelihoods, which is happening. And of course, the urban poor are at the forefront of this climate change and the climate risk, which is happening. They're exposed to heat. They're exposed to vulnerabilities, which are within the cities. In terms of resources, Indian cities have some of the least per capita resources of any others. Sao Paulo is here, a little bit more. And then we have the African cities also over here, which have the same situation. Now, green infrastructure is clearly one of the solutions which is very important, both in terms of climate mitigation and adaptation, and the advantages, the co-benefits, and the actual ecological benefits are very clear. Where does India stand now? If we do just a quick check of the various If we just do a quick check of where India stands now, the various sort of initiatives which are going on. There is one by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, where they're talking about increasing forest cover in urban areas across India. The 15th Finance Commission is talking about incentivizing states with larger forest cover, so you get fiscal incentives. And then there are cities which are kind of complementing this and helping by developing master plans which incorporate blue-green prerogatives. The action which is happening in Indian cities is on both fronts. There is action happening which is government-led, large-scale regional action, and then there is community-led action which is happening in both rural and urban areas. Now, WRI-India's approach in this whole process is three-pronged. Basically, we are taking the approach of data-driven decision-making, helping cities with data-driven decision-making, helping integrate NBS in policies, plans, and projects, and engaging with key stakeholders to build their capacities. And I'll just show you a couple of the data slides, some of the work that we're doing around data and building capacities in cities. This is the city of Kochi, and this map basically looks at the flood susceptibility zones so that you can understand, which are the communities at risk, whether they are adjacent to any kind of lakes, canals, water bodies, from sea level rise and high tides, and then take action accordingly. The maps here, for example, they're talking about also the heat risk in Kochi. Kochi is a humid climate, and previously it wasn't vulnerable to heat risk, but now it is. And there is, like I mentioned, there is a huge amount of population, a quarter of the population which lives within floodplains, and a quarter of the population thus faces this climate vulnerability. Part of what we are doing is bringing stakeholder engagement and capacity building, looking at what are the areas where nature-based solutions can help, where the natural capital needs to be restored, and how to go about doing it by involving the various stakeholders from the community level to the public sector and the government level. We're also looking at individual and community resilience, mapping who the most vulnerable are, why they're the most vulnerable, what are the kind of infrastructure interventions, governance interventions that are needed to remove these vulnerabilities. And we have undertaken extensive studies to figure out, what are the vulnerabilities present in these neighborhoods, whether it's flood, other things, and how do you inform them better so that they can be well prepared to face this, and also they can take adaptation action. We are putting all of this together in Kochi, for example, in a guidance document for resilience planning, which will inform basically the city disaster management plan. And the idea is to institutionalize preparedness and resilience in the recovery and sort of a framework of the disaster management plan that already exists. Here is a quick look at Mumbai as well. In Mumbai, we are looking at land surface temperatures. Mumbai faces severe heat risks. There's a whole lot of vulnerable population in lower income and slum communities who are exposed to this risk. We're conducting citywide assessments and mapping differential vulnerabilities. Over here, you're looking at two neighborhoods. One is a slum neighborhood, the other is adjacent to it. And we find that, the slum neighborhood is 5 degrees hotter than its immediate neighbor because of the presence of green infrastructure in that neighborhood. We're also looking at, stretches of infrastructure like streets and metros and bridges, and looking at, what kind of temperature changes happen during the day, during the month, during the season, and how can some micro elements of nature-based solutions be inserted into these environments, which can help cool them and which can provide relief for the millions of people who earn their livelihoods in such environments. The other thing that we are also doing in Mumbai very actively is looking at establishing baselines. So looking at tree cover in Mumbai, trees outside forests, because we can't deal with what we can't measure. And so first we need to measure where we're at, what the baseline is, and then set targets on how to kind of better it. We're also suggesting methodologies for increasing green cover in cities. There are 1 or 2 methodologies which are well known and which are trying to be scaled and which cities are looking at and trying to proliferate. But I think one of the intelligence that we are bringing is that there are different ways of increasing tree canopy, especially in core urbanized areas, which are very densely built up. And then how do you go about doing that? As part of the activities in Mumbai also, recently there's the launch of the Mumbai Climate Action Plan, which is going to be setting out prerogatives by sector for what each sector, what each department needs to do to be climate ready and climate resilient. And finally, the biggest opportunity that we have is as being part of the Cities for Forests platform. Both Kochi, Mumbai, there is Hyderabad as well in India, which is part of this platform. Kochi was a founding member, Mumbai has recently signed on. And the idea is, how do you bring technical assistance? How do you bring the know-how, peer-to-peer learning and exposure and financing through this platform to enable these cities to work towards climate change? I'll stop here. And just before I move on to the panel discussion, sorry, just give me a minute. And I would now like to also invite my colleague Todd Gartner, who's the director, WRI, to join in and start the panel discussion with our participants today. Over to you, Todd.
Thank you, Priya. And for me, at least, good morning. I am dialing in from the beautiful forested area of Southwest Colorado. A pleasure to be here and honored to help moderate this panel along with Jaya and our distinguished guest. As Jaya mentioned, I'm honored to direct the Cities for Forests program on behalf of the World Resources Institute. And right now we have 73 cities from across the globe who have committed to increasing their ambition around this critical topic of balancing economic development and growth with the protection and restoration of nature for the benefit of their residents. And we're fortunate to now have a conversation with 4 cities who are really leading the way on this topic from really different geographies and quite different contexts, but all megacities who are really growing: Kochi, Mumbai, Kumasi, and Sao Paulo. And I'd like to start off the panel by asking our distinguished guest, the ambassador of Sao Paulo, Ambassador Barreto. Sao Paulo is one of my absolute favorite cities. The food, the people, the culture, and the nature, both within and around the city. I'd love to hear your opinion for how you and your political colleagues are balancing the need for economic growth with the protection of nature in and around the cities. How are you approaching that, and how can that be an example for other cities in the Global South? Ambassador Barreto.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
That's good. Well, for me, it's morning, like for you, Todd, but I guess for the others, good evening. I've been given some notes prepare notes to make a presentation, but you asked me a direct question. I don't know how much time I have and how much, as I asked one of the moderators, should I make my presentation and how many minutes I have?
Yeah, maybe if you would take 5 minutes to help us sort of set the stage for some of the critical priorities for you in the city, please.
All right. Okay. Let me get 5 minutes. Let's start here. Oops. Here we go. Well, first of all, let me tell a little bit about. Well, thank you very much for this invitation. Speaking, of course, on behalf of the city of Sao Paulo, and it's a great pleasure to be here. I think the idea of clean, green, and just, and I would add the post-COVID scenario for the cities is a top priority for many of us all over the world. Sao Paulo fully embraces initiatives inspired, supported, and copied from the nature to address the environment, transforming social and economic challenges into opportunities for innovation. Well, this was part of what I was given to read, but let me say something out of what was written here. I am retired. I retired from the long career as a diplomat, and I was tranquil in my retirement when I got this invitation work for my city, the city I grew up, but I have been many years away from. So it's been it's very interesting for me to come back to my own city and find that with my experience from many cities that I lived in, to try to help. And I find, to my contentment, that we have been doing a number of things here. So I will make a small presentation, try to present some of the ideas that I found here that I think coincide greatly with the idea of nature-based solutions. So I will speak a little bit about our Sao Paulo Municipal Climate Action Plan, and then I will talk about 2 or 3 targets in particular, and then I will speak of some other three just briefly, 3 more projects outside of the action plan, and then I'll end at the end. At the end, then I will try to answer your question about how to conciliate growth and economic and environment. The action plan in Sao Paulo is a very ambitious plan, as many cities have. I think throughout the world have decided to make. We have one very ambitious one. Sao Paulo is, everybody, I guess, knows it's a 12 million people city. And so, it's to my own surprise, I didn't know Sao Paulo is so big that even has 28% of the municipality includes an area, almost a third of Sao Paulo has is green. It's covered with green. It's in the south, deep south of the city. There's like a peninsula coming out of the city, which is we not only have a rural area within the city limit, but also indigenous population. Right? To my own surprise, so Sao Paulo does have already some green, but the idea is to increase it to about 50% coverage of green in the city. So the action plan is very ambitious and has some targets that I will mention. One is to increase the use of nature-based solutions in drainage.
Ambassador Brito,
yes.
If you could just be a little bit closer to the mic, please.
Oh, the mic. Okay.
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, I was saying that the action plan has many targets, but I will mention 3 specific ones that have a lot to do with the idea of this discussion. One is to increase the use of nature-based solutions in drainage, infrastructure works. Sao Paulo, and I was curious to see that India also has. Sao Paulo has had throughout its history, a lot of floods within the city. The city has covered in the past many of the rivers, and so whenever there's a lot of rain, this rain comes from below the surface, and so we have a lot of problems with floods. So there is an interest in finding solutions to this problem. The second target that I would mention is the idea of urban tree planting, green roof systems, and a word that I wasn't familiar with, bioswales. You all probably know what it is, but I wasn't, as a career diplomat, I was not aware of what that is. And the third one is the ideas of afforestation and rain gardens that could benefit thermal comfort and once again increase permeability and enhance rainwater drainage. So it's a very ambitious plan, but I mentioned these 3 specific targets. But the plan doesn't, outside of the plan, there are many other actions that have been taken. And I will mention also a few more projects that are closely, we think, relate to the nature-based solution. And the first is what project that we call Connect the Dots. It's a project that we are very proud of and that aims to create a food system network that tackles social inequality and supports regenerative farming. So it's exactly located in that area that I mentioned before, so Sao Paulo's rural zone in the extreme south of the city. And the program supports and purchases produce from local farmers to provide healthy food for vulnerable people. And it's a great example of nature-based solution as it builds soil quality by returning organic waste promotes biodiversity, helps tackling climate change, and reduces farmers' reliance on synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. So this is the first example, example outside of the plant. The second one is a program that we have a successful case in Sao Paulo, which is we call the Sustainable Street Markets and Gardens Program, that has been tackling the issue of sending tons of organic waste to distant landfills by constructing semi-local composting facilities in the city. And currently, it's handling up to 50 tons of waste daily. The 13 composting yards are not only diverting waste from landfills, but creating compost that is then used in public spaces in the city or given to visitors for free. So that program includes urban garden programs in which citizens are get incentives to grow their own organic food and become more environmentally aware. So Sao Paulo did not need to make large investments in major waste management facilities for this. So the administration just built these sheds for the composting using mainly nature-based solutions such as organic materials.
Ambassador Barreto, that might be a really great point to transition over to our colleagues from Kumasi and then dig deeper on some of these in just a moment. I love having panels where we can literally jump from one continent to the next and compare experiences. And a lot of the ingredients for success are similar, regardless of geography, but how we deploy them at the local level really determines if we can scale implementation and be successful. And we're fortunate to be joined by city leadership in Kumasi in Ghana, another city that has joined Cities for Forest, and we're proud to work with you. At some point, I believe the mayor, Antwi, will be joining us, but for the time being, we're honored to have Deputy Director Wilson with us right now. I've not had the pleasure of visiting your amazing city quite yet, but hope to in the near future. But I did recently learn about the Keep Kumasi Clean and Green program, which I was fascinated by. I would love to hear and have you share with the audience a little bit more about that program and how you're balancing economic growth with sustainability of nature. Please.
All right, thank you very much. So I speak on behalf of Mayor Entry, who had to go out this morning because there's a security emergency in town that he has to attend to. So he's on the field. He will join us shortly. The Keep Kumasi Clean and Green was a scheme, and it's still a scheme being run by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. The objective of this scheme is simply to improve sanitation and also restore the vegetative cover of Kumasi. For some years, Kumasi had been touted as the garden city of West Africa due to its vegetative cover. But then we realized as time went on and physical developments and urbanization set in, we began losing this vegetative cover due to development. So at a point in time, we realized we have to replace this vegetative cover because it was affecting our climate. And then also we wanted to build resilience as a city. So we therefore came up with this policy and strategy of Keep Kumasi Clean and Green campaign. So under this campaign, our objective is to plant about 1 million trees within the metropolis by 2025, the latest. So for starters, what we did was to get in touch with relevant stakeholders whom we believe would be able to give us the technical backstopping in carrying out this scheme of ours. So we spoke with the Forestry and Crop Research Institute of Ghana, who agreed to help us by giving us technical backstopping. This is by giving us the kind of trees we should plant, which will be resilient to the weather and will thrive irrespective of weather conditions. So we designated certain areas within our metropolis to plant these trees. These were along our major streets and principal streets, that is the road allowances and other road reserves which were left within school compounds, and then also around our water bodies. We have a lot of streams in Kumasi. So we decided to plant trees around all our stream embankments, and then also wetlands and parks within our city. We incorporated school children because we thought that we need to inculcate the habits of preserving our environment right from the start. So if we start from basic education level coming up, these children would grow with the mentality that we need to preserve our environment. We need to plant trees and nurture them to maturity. So we engaged all the basic schools within the metropolis. We supplied them with tree seedlings and assisted them to plant these seedlings. And we established a competition to see which school will have the most number of trees surviving. So these schools would be given awards and prizes in recognition of the effort they put in nurturing these trees to maturity. We also planted some along other institutional compounds, our major roads, and other areas. So we have the Forestry Commission of Ghana taking care of some of the trees. So we handed the trees, nurturing and taking care of the trees over to various institutions within our metropolis who were all engaged in this venture as key stakeholders. So they took up the challenge of taking care of the trees that we have planted in their environments. And what we did was to encourage our citizens that around your residential area, if we plant a tree near your house, close to the roadside, the tree was put under your care. You are supposed to water the tree when we are in the dry season, when rains are not common. You are supposed to water the tree, and we go around to see how the trees are doing. And then also we replace trees which are died off or something, and protected those which needed protection from foraging insects and animals and all that. So all this we did just to preserve our vegetative cover, replace our cover to gain the garden city status that we are losing as a city. So from about 2017 till date, when we've been going on with this campaign, we have planted a total of about 134,284 tree varieties, depending on the area and the specific species of trees that would thrive within that vegetation. So we are following closely, and I'm proud to say that we have a lot of greenery in areas which were bare a few years back. And it's very heartwarming to drive along the streets and see these trees growing nicely, offering shade to passers-by and other people. And then also we are embarking on greening parks which will give our citizens an area for recreation, an area where they can get close to nature, relax, and then rejuvenate so that they can carry on with their economic activities, because our city is purely commercial. There's a lot of commerce that goes on. That's the mainstay of our local economy here in Kumasi. So we thought with providing our people with a place to relax in a natural environment, which most people miss in their homes, because buildings and other physical structures have replaced all greenery within our residential areas. So we are taking up all public spaces left in the various communities to green them, so that we offer our citizens a place to go and sit quietly, get close to nature, view flowers, trees, and other things, and then it will help us to relax and rejuvenate and carry on our activities as active citizens of this metropolis. And then not to talk about the benefits we enjoy as a result of this greening Kumasi project. Now we have a lot of trees, so it helps in breaking our storms. Because of the tropical weather, we get very strong winds and rains at certain times of the rainy season. So we've realized that the trees have served as a sort of buffer. And most encouraging is we have fruit trees, coconuts, and others, which offer our citizens who are thirsty. So walking along the road, you can pluck a coconut and drink its water without anybody having a problem with you or anybody claiming you've stolen. So we've planted these trees for the enjoyment and aesthetics of our citizens. So far, that is the keeping Kumasi clean and green. And then the clean aspect of this project is to provide litter bins along all roads and routes within our metropolis, so that we discourage our citizens from littering. so that when you are walking along the streets, you are strolling anywhere within our communities, you can get a bin to drop bottles, or maybe you've drank water, you need a place to dump it, some pieces of paper. So we've provided little bins at vantage points within our metropolis to serve such purposes. So these bins also, we monitor, we empty them every evening, replace them, so that by morning when life starts, our citizens will have access and use them appropriately to reduce littering, and then also improve waste management within our metropolis as a whole. So in sum, this is the concept.
Yes. So congratulations on the success of the program. I haven't had my breakfast yet, so the fresh coconuts is making me a bit hungry. You really hit at the core of Cities for Forests, not just doing good things for nature, but raising the awareness of the residents and involving them and increasing their understanding of why it's important. So congratulations, and we're going to dig a bit deeper in just a moment. Jaya, I'd love to pass it to you to understand what's happening in Mumbai and Kochi and how that compares to Sao Paulo and Kumasi. Jaya, please.
Thank you, Todd. And I welcome to the Mayor of Kochi. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure having you here. Now, Mumbai and Kochi have striking similarities. Both are coastal cities, both are culturally diverse, both have a unique blend of heritage and modernization, and both are not immune to the benefits and ills of urbanization, which will continue to expand population and their boundaries. Moreover, both are at high risk due to climate change, as per the recent IPCC report, which pegs coastal cities as most at risk from sea level rise. Now, sir, Mr. Anil Kumar, sir, I would like to come to you first. Now, after the consecutive floods in the last couple of years in Kochi, the city has been looking at several measures to mitigate climate risk, revitalizing canal systems, greening the city, looking at integrated urban planning. These are some of the things that have been going on. There was also recently the Ente Kochi competition for onboarding design ideas for canal restoration. There is also the Heal Kochi initiative, which you're looking at. What is your vision for Kochi from the perspective of climate proofing and improving the quality of life in the city, and the current initiatives that can scale or that you want to scale? Over to you, sir.
Now, as you told all the respected dignitaries, the mayors, and everyone who are present here, good evening. I've been late to join the meeting. I'm sorry, because I had another meeting. Sorry. So, HEAL is one of the major programs that we have started. The HEAL connotes, H means health, E is for environment, A is for agriculture, and L is for livelihood. So what we are trying to do is that there is another meaning of Heal Kochi, because once you have some disease, it is better that you heal the whole city out of it. So as you rightly pointed out, the issue of the city of Kochi is that it is the topography is in such a situation that according to the climate dangers that we are facing with the global warming and all that, as you rightly pointed out, Kochi and Mumbai have similar problems that is to be addressed, because the sea level is rising. Slowly water has started entering many of the places. So to become climate resilient is one of the major important tasks of the city. So that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to bring in public participation at all levels. So when you are planning for a sanitation plan, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to bring in public participation. As you rightly pointed out, we started the competition so that all the urban planners come to the city. We started it with Mullasheri Canal. Mullasheri Canal is one of the canals that connects us with the backwaters. So this canal and the adjoining areas generally have a flooding problem. So what we did was that we conducted an urban design competition, and many designers, many urban planners from across the country, they participated, and they were given a chance to talk with all the stakeholders, to have discussions with all the stakeholders, and the best plan, which was prepared with the support of the public, that was selected by us, and now it is going to be implemented. We are also started another program. The name of the program is Karo. I'll tell you what is Kawaki. See, in ancient Kerala itself, we have got this concept of Kavu. That is, in each family, there might be 10 or 12 joint families connected closely knit to a particular family. And in all these 10 or within all these 10 or 12 joint families, you generally have a Kavu. A Kavu means a kind of temple, a traditional temple. And across this temple, you have a pond. You also have a kind of a forest. And you know that in India, you have peculiar kinds of worshipping. We worship snakes. And it is believed that these snakes are there. We call it Nagam. These snakes, and I will tell you, since the municipal commissioner of Mumbai is also present with me, history tells us that this concept came from Maharashtra. People brought this concept from Maharashtra. There are people in Kerala who come from Maharashtra. Their forefathers have come from Maharashtra. And in Maharashtra, you have these kinds of worshipping the snakes. So what we see is that we see these snakes as something to be worshipped. And we, in fact, protect these temples along with the Kavu. And now what we are trying to do is that we are trying, along with WRI, we have started this Kawaki project, wherein we are going to plant at least 10,000 trees within all the open spaces inside the city. If you have a park, we are trying to develop a particular area of the park with all these trees, so that all these trees will be protected, will be conserved, and it will be conserved with the participation of the people. So this is how a traditional kind of worshipping, a traditional kind of concept of conservation of trees, we are trying to revive it in the modern days. This is how we are trying to see that there is more afforestation being done. We also have a place called Mangalavanam inside the city. I think you will be embarrassed to see this, because you have some 10-20 acres of land which is totally concerned with all the big trees and all the it is a kind of a mini forest area. So we are now protecting it. We have created a buffer zone around this Mangalavanam, and we are trying to see that all the forest area that is there inside the heart of the city, the new corporation building that is going to come up. Today I visited that particular place where the construction is going on, and from that place, from the mayor's office, I'll tell you, I can see the Mangalavanam. It is so near to the Mangalavanam. So we are trying to protect all these areas. We are trying to bring in the heal concept inside the corporation area. So whatever we do, we are trying to see that this concept is being protected. And as the respected mayor, Honorable Mayor Kumasi was commenting about the participation of the children, we have started another competition. The name of the competition is Eco Challenge, because the United Nations has decided that this decade we should think about ecological restoration. And what we are trying to do is that we are trying to participate the children into this competition. All the campuses are asked to participate in this competition. They should, in fact, find a place which is now creating an ecological problem is there. They can find out the particular place. They can write a small write-up about the whole problem that they see before their eyes. They can draw a picture. They can make a short film. They can do a painting, anything they can do. And then they can submit it before the corporation. The best solution will be rewarded. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to see that the children become a part of this whole process of ecological restoration, climate resilience, because without the support of the next generation, I don't think that Kochi can move forward. These are some of the initiatives, briefly, I want to point out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now like to move on to Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, Sir, AMC Mumbai. Sir, Mumbai is the financial capital of India. It doesn't need an introduction, but just to kind of situate it here a little bit, that it is also the 7th most populous city in the world. Year after year, the city bounces back from rainfall and floods, and there are several initiatives that the city government is taking for coastal and wetland ecosystem protection and better solutions which integrate blue, green, and grey infrastructure. In fact, in the state of Maharashtra itself, there are several examples, whether we are talking about wetlands restoration, you look at Kumbharwadi Basin, whether we talk about improving the tree canopy, sort of the model that Pune has implemented with the Varje forest development, or, the Mahim Nature Park, which is, fantastic example of landfill reclamation for public open space. So similarly, what is your vision for Mumbai from the perspective of climate proofing and improving the quality of life in the city? And what are some of the current initiatives that you would like to scale?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Good morning and good evening. As explained by you, it's one of the biggest cities with 483 square kilometer area, 13 million population, and population density of more than 26,000 per square kilometer. So the challenges for us lie in demography and geography. 46% of the population, people in the city, they live in informal settlements, and large number of people live in high density, low income housing settlements. It's an estuarine city with forests, mangroves, wetlands, ecosystems around it, and they are part of the city. So it's very important for us to protect, conserve, and manage the fragile ecosystems. In this context, I would like to mention that historically, Maharashtra and Mumbai in India has always shown the leadership when it comes to economic development as a financial center, or in terms of freedom struggle and the social reform movements as well. So first, at the state level in Maharashtra, there is a political commitment that we are seeing for the last more than 5 to 10 years now. At the state level, we have the tree plantation campaign, which has been going on for the last 4 or 5 years now. And the evidence shows that the green cover outside the forests has increased in Maharashtra. Similarly, only a few days back, the state has come up with the electric vehicle policy. And as you mentioned in the beginning itself, that Mumbai's climate action plan has been launched. We are in the process of stakeholder consultations at this stage. And urban greening and biodiversity protection is part of is one of the 6 key action tracks. So in that context, it's a priority for us. It's a priority for city as well as the state government. The political establishment, of course, there are huge challenges. The political establishment, the city government, all are completely focused on managing climate change, because as has been said, if we don't do anything, probably by 2050, major parts of Mumbai would be under few feet of water. So these are the challenges. And challenges, I would say, the space. Space is a huge challenge for us. Right now, the space in Mumbai, if you look at the open space, is roughly 1 square kilometer or 1.09 square kilometer per person. But then our DCPR, the plan is to increase it to 6 kilometers per person over a period of time. The initiatives we have taken at the city level and at the state level. One is, of course, the Miyawaki plantation, where 162,000 trees we have planted. Dense plantation we do in city because of the space constraints. We have amended the Tree Act and protection to the heritage trees that is granted now. We have come out with a new garden policy, where in the city more than 1,000, exactly 1,068 open plants will be developed as open spaces. How can we have better biodiversity committees where experts, various stakeholders can participate, and the coastal ecosystems, because we have mangroves, we have the nalas, the rivers flowing into the city. How can we protect these places? So these are the challenges, but there are certain opportunities as well. It's a historical city, we all know, and historically the institutions have huge spaces. In the institutions, you have the education institutions, the hospitals. So how can that space and those buildings can be used for increasing the green cover. So that is our one priority. Then when the private developers they come up with the township, the residential townships, so how can we have an incentive structure where they focus on making the walls, making the roofs green? Then how can we involve the communities also? The traditional communities, the poor households, and the people living in low income households, how can they be involved? So these are some of the plans, and the infrastructure which we already have, how can we actually make that infrastructure also green? So these are some of the challenges, these are some of the opportunities available for Mumbai. Of course, because it's very diverse, along with the forest, we have the wetlands, we have the mangroves, we have the beaches, we have the nalas. So how can these spaces be used, which are simply transporting water, but then how can we use these spaces also, increasing plantation, increasing forest cover in the city? Because that's very, very important. There is a clear evidence that, as you already said, that parts of the Dharavi where the green cover, open spaces are not available, the temperature is 5 degrees more than rest of the city. So how can we increase the green cover and the temperature which is increasing in winter, which is increasing during nights? How can that be reduced? So these are the challenges, these are the opportunities, and we believe finally, of course, there is a conflict between economic development and greening that we said, but that's a short-term conflict. In the long run, I think it benefits all. It benefits poor, it benefits cities, it benefits all of us. I think that is the understanding which everyone, including the political establishment, is having in the state, and that's our focus now.
Thank you, sir. Todd, over to you.
Thank you, Jaya, and wonderful to hear about the experiences and accomplishments of our friends in Mumbai and Kochi. Ambassador Barreto, when you were giving your opening remarks, much of the focus was about nature within the city, right? And as you mentioned, Sao Paulo is quite a large metropolis. It's also very uniquely positioned in the broader Atlantic forest region. We all know the drought that Sao Paulo has been battling over the last number of years. How is city leadership thinking about the protection and the restoration of Mata Atlantica to make sure that there are clean and plentiful water supplies for the residents of Sao Paulo for current and future generations?
Well, that's a very good question, Todd. Thank you for that, because by coincidence, yesterday I was listening to participating in a debate here in Brazil with mayors from different cities of Brazil. And there was one representative of the organization that you mentioned, which is Mata Atlantica. For those who do not know it, it's a nice program that has started some decades ago, and is now bearing fruit in the state of Sao Paulo, not particularly just in the city of Sao Paulo, but in the state of Sao Paulo and other states bordering the Atlantic Ocean. So it's something that has been going on for quite some time now, maybe the 80s and 90s, and now it's bearing the fruit. So yes, Sao Paulo, and going back to the initial part of your question, yes, Sao Paulo, Brazil is part of the rainforest. It includes the Amazon region, 60% of the national territory. The city of Sao Paulo, and this, I don't want to go into politics, we better stay in the local municipality initiatives, but the city of Sao Paulo is making a point to make it sure that we in Sao Paulo, it's the top priority of the mayor and all the secretaries here. Sustainability is a major issue, it's important, and so there are discrepancies from what the federal government is doing in a major scale. So we make it clear that the city of Sao Paulo and I would say also the state of Sao Paulo have a very different priorities. Let's put it this way, euphemistically. So we have a different view, but we're following closely what's going on, and of course affects all of us. The environment is not something that you limit by the circumscription of one city or one state. It affects, as we know, everybody everywhere. So it is, we're trying to make now our effort in Mata Atlantic, as you said, is a very good example, a successful example of the reforestation in the areas which used to be very, it's incredible what's going on now in the look near the ocean. The Mata Atlantic is exactly near the Atlantic Ocean, which is now being recovered. It has been taken. One important thing that we find is, of course, is continuity in administrations. No matter what the government is elected, it should continue. And this is something that's been happening, fortunately, here in the state of Sao Paulo and the city in particular.
That's great, Ambassador, and such an important ecosystem for both water supply, for biodiversity, and of course, for climate. You know, Brazil is one of the most important countries when we think about forests as we deal with climate change globally. Deputy Director Wilson, you heard Ambassador Barreto talk about the forests around Sao Paulo. Kumasi is also uniquely positioned with beautiful forests all around the city in every direction. Help us please understand the relationship between the city and those nearby forests and the role those forests play for water supply, flood control, and other benefits for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have some forests around our city, and within the catchment areas of these forests, we have some major rivers which serve as a source of water supply for the metropolis. So to ensure that we have a constant source of water supply for our citizens, we collaborate with the Ghana Forestry Commission, which is directly in charge of preserving such forests. Since the forest isn't within our jurisdiction, we collaborate closely with the Forestry Commission to make sure that those forests are safe from unauthorized developments and other activities that would not augur well for these rivers. So we have developed certain structures around that area to house forest guards who would take care of that area and discourage encroachers and also poachers who would want to enter the forest and carry out any activities which would endanger the rivers and affect water supply to our cities. So we do very well to keep those areas very safe. We protect those streams that feeds into those major rivers which serve as a source of supply of water for our citizens in the metropolis and around other areas within the metropolis. So we have the Ghana Water Supply Company. They take care of the rivers. They dam the waters from these rivers to purify it for residential and other purposes usage within the metropolis. So we keep a close relationship with them at every point in time. When there's any assistance we could give them in terms of renovation works, in terms of maintenance and other things of their lines and sewage systems regarding those rivers, we are very keen on that. So we always have a budget set aside for any such activities they may want to carry out along the year. And we always, as part of our action plan for the year, we take their action plan, we ask them to submit their action plan so that we capture it as part of our plan for the year, so that when they have to carry out any activity, we already have made provision for it in our budget, so that it doesn't stall, because we know the implication for us as a metropolis if their activities stalled towards the provision of potable water for our citizens.
Wonderful explanation. And I really like the ambitions that you are setting and that you are tracking progress over time by asking people to really monitor how things are going towards those targets. Wonderful examples across the board. I'd like to switch gears just a little bit here I mentioned earlier that we have over 70 cities from across the globe who are participating in Cities for Forests, from Auckland, New Zealand, to Bogota, Colombia, Washington, D.C. So quite a diverse group of mayors and city leadership stepping up on the issue of forest and climate. And as we saw with the IPCC report about 2 weeks ago, our window of opportunity to protect nature and to deal with climate change for both the planet, but for the people is now. And cities have a critical role to play in making that happen. And something that we've organized at Cities for Forest is a call to action on forests and climate. And our colleagues in Kumasi and in Sao Paulo have signed the call to action along with 46 of their brothers and sisters from across the world. So as of now, 48 mayors and cities have signed on. And this is a commitment from each of those cities to raise their ambition to protect and restore nature within their city, but also in the surrounding watersheds for water, for biodiversity, for climate, and for their residents. And we are excited to have the opportunity today to have the mayors of Kochi and Mumbai who have agreed in real time to sign the call to action on behalf of their cities and be the 49th and the 50th cities to be part of this incredible collaboration. And next week, next Wednesday, at the New York City Climate Week, we are going to be launching the call to action with an incredible high-level panel that builds on this gathering and lead up to the Glasgow Climate COP in early November. Mayor Kumar and the Mayor of Kochi, would you be honored, please, to sign the call to action?
No. What I am thinking is that let Mumbai, a bigger city with much bigger history, let Mr. Sanjeev Kumar IAS sign it first, so that he can take the lead, and I will become a landmark 50th city who is signing it, which can always be remembered.
Okay, thank
great.
you. Yeah. So, this is what I've signed.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Thank you so much.
And
Just a minute. I, on behalf of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, signed the Cities for Forest call to action for forests and climate to mark our commitment to protect, conserve, and manage urban forests and natural ecosystems.
Congratulations and thank you so much.
And we are the 50th city. I have also signed. I'm very privileged to have signed as a 50th signatory. Thank you.
We will send you both some sustainable Brazil nuts and some sustainable chocolate from our colleagues across the world. So you are now in very good company.
Yeah.
And the goal of this call to action has two ambitions. One is both for cities to shout from the mountaintops about what they're doing on these critical issues, but also recognizing that cities can't do it alone. We need the help of financial institutions, corporations, and national level governments to set the enabling conditions and help provide the finance so that all of the incredible ideas that we've heard from Kumasi, Sao Paulo, Kochi, Mumbai can become reality and scale to meet our incredible challenges that are ahead of us. So we are honored to be working with you. We learn from you every day, and it's exchanges like this that help us get where we need to be much more efficiently. Jaya, I'd love to pass it back to you in these last few minutes of the session to help kind of bring it all together and help us understand where we go from here. Thank you so much again.
Fantastic, Todd, and thank you so much, especially Dr. Sanjeev sir and Anil Kumar sir. Thank you so much for signing the call to action. This is brilliant that it's happening on the Connect Karo platform. It's additionally exciting for us. I think what I would like to close by is, all the 4 cities sort of present here are part of the C4F platform, and especially for Mumbai and Kochi. In addition to the work that we are doing together, whether it's on tree restoration potential, water body rejuvenation, building institutional capacities, the respective works going on in the Mumbai Climate Action Plan and also in Kochi with the guidance document for the CDMP, what are the opportunities do you see that the C4F platform can bring, and how can this platform serve you better? What are your thoughts on that? And I will request Mayor of Kochi to please answer that first.
See, I already explained to you about the Kawaki project we are having. And you rightly mentioned about the canal rejuvenation plan that we are making. And that canal rejuvenation project is being, as he was earlier asking us about the national government and the state government pinning in. And the state government is fully financing the canal rejuvenation project. Because Kochi has a lot of backwaters and it has a lot of canals that is connected to the backwaters. Now what we are doing is that we are trying to maintain a minimum width of the canals to see that there is proper navigation inside the canals. We can have boating inside the canals, as earlier the mayor was telling, to have a proper sewage plan so that the water bodies are not at all polluted. These things are happening. And apart from this, what I am trying to do is that what I am looking forward to this particular initiative and the C4F platform is that, we are similarly placed like many other cities. As you told, in India, Mumbai is a much bigger city. In fact, Mumbai is more or less bigger than even our state, the state of Kerala. Mumbai Municipal Corporation is, at least to my understanding, it is at least in fact in the areas of revenue and in the area of its geographical width. I believe that it is much bigger, at least 4 times the whole state of Kerala. So we can learn from some of the experience, because more or less we are similarly placed. Though we are a small city, we are similarly placed when you compare it with global warming, the seawater rise. So we like to understand from the experiences of Mumbai. We also feel that, places like Netherlands, I don't know whether they are there. Now, Netherlands is one of the areas where everybody of you know, where there is this blue-green infrastructure. We were trying to implement the Mullacherry Canal, which I was mentioning to you earlier. We were trying to bring out a solution of a blue-green infrastructure so that we work within the flood situation. So I have heard about Amsterdam. No, it's not Amsterdam, Rotterdam, which has a big port. We are also a port city. They have their own flooding, issues of flooding, and they have learned to live inside the floods. So it is true that these climate issues are going to come up on a later date. As you were telling that Mumbai and Kochi are placed in a similar situation, we have all these dangers before us. So how did we learn from the experiences, as you told about the big floods that happen in Kerala? We tried to face that threat. Likewise, I believe that from the experiences of Netherlands, what they did, we can also learn from those experiences. We can learn from the experiences of all the cities, all the 49 signatories of this initiative. We can learn from their experiences and try to cope up with this climate change. So that is what we are trying to look into. It is true that the water body is going to rise, the water level is going to rise, the water is going to enter the cities. Now, we cannot entirely tell the people that you cannot live in this place. You will have to live in this place, but you will have to plan it properly. You will have to see that there is an imminent danger that is going to come before your eyes later, maybe after 10 years, maybe after 25 years, maybe after 50 years, and you will have to plan accordingly. And what I believe is that with the people's participation, what I believe is that from all the international collaboration which we are going to get, from all the international expertise we are going to learn, from all the international experiences that we are going to gain, we can in fact plan for later disasters to see that we can at least make our city a climate resilient city. So this is the possibility and the opportunity that I look forward to this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Sanjeev, sir, over to you.
Thank you. I agree with you that Mumbai is big in population as well as financial resources. That's what you compare with other states. We compare with Maharashtra as well, that Mumbai is as equal to rest of Maharashtra put together. So that is there. But then the importance of platform lies in learning from others, and how the different parts of the world, different cities, different countries have managed or are managing. I think we don't think that just because we are of huge size, so we have the solutions. There's a huge opportunity to learn from other countries, other cities, and this platform can be very useful in bringing together on one platform different countries, cities, stakeholders, experts. And I believe that when we see things being done in other parts of the world, we naturally ask the question, why can't we do? I think it makes things more easy. So I believe this platform is very, very important for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And with that also, Ambassador Fernando and Deputy Director Kumasi, if you would like to end with some closing thoughts.
Yes, well, I just would like to reiterate my thank you for having me invited. It's been a very interesting exchange of ideas. I think I agree completely with the mayor who had preceded, who said that the importance of an exchange of ideas. Not all the solutions found in one city might not be applicable to another. That's another challenge we have, to see what is interesting for us. So you're providing a forum where we can listen to different experiences, see what the cities that have similar challenges and how they're dealing with that. I think it's just all that I wanted to say for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. And for us in Kumasi, we believe that this is a very good platform to propel us further in our plan to green our city and restore its vegetative cover. We believe experience sharing does a lot for us in city management, even though we may have different settings. But when you share experiences and how other cities embarked upon implementing similar strategies, it helps you to adapt their strategies, but then within your environment, you'll be able to rehash or redesign these strategies to suit your local environment. And this helps a lot for you to be able to forecast what to expect in implementing such schemes and prepare adequately to handle whatever challenges may come up. So I believe this forum is the best. It's something that Kumasi really looks forward to. Experience sharing over the years has proven to be one of the best things that city authorities can use as a tool in managing their areas effectively. So we are ever ready. Our doors are always open to share experiences with sister cities in this bid, so that we all encourage and urge each other on as we move forward in making sure that we have forests or greens within our cities, no matter what threats or challenges urbanization is posing to us. So we really look forward to this project as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think those are two very important nuggets, the learnings and the takeaways here is, one is that not all solutions apply everywhere. So I think the more we talk to each other, the more we engage on this platform, the more we learn about what we can do, and also the forecasting of, what can be expected. And so basically, prevent the mistakes which somebody else might have made, and how do you kind of skip that and, leapfrog over that. And the second one, like you said, sir, that if they can do it, why not us? Like looking at pilots and other experiences that other cities are having, and looking at, how can that be adapted to our context, our respective contexts, which are all very unique. Thank you so much for this discussion. Todd, any words from you? Because I know I want to let you go get breakfast. And yes, any parting words from you?
Just if I'm going to wake up early, I'm so glad it was to be part of such an incredible panel. Thank you all. Congratulations on all of the success of your program so far. It's these exchange of ideas that helps us get where we need to go, bigger, better, faster, and there's more incredible stuff to come. So thank you for being part of this. Thank you for letting us learn from you, and thank you for going along with us on this journey. Congratulations and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.